folks. This is Brennan Ferguson. I'm a designer and a writer.
And Dave Grossman, lead designer / writer.
And David Bogan, art director.
And Kim Lyons, environment artist.
And Emily Morganti, I'm in marketing.
Don't laugh.
Marketing rocks.
So, episode 2, this is the one that is set in a TV station. So, a long time ago, I had the idea that I just wanted to get on TV and become famous. That's all I really wanted to do in life. That dream, of course, was squashed, so I decided, let's just make a game about it.
Excellent.
The colon in the middle of the title, as I recall, caused some technical problems with our website, yes?
Yeah, I think there were
complain about
problems
it.
as far as what we were going to name the web page if it had a colon in it. We got over it, though.
It's the little things that get you.
Plus, we were just wanting to have the most colons ever in a title, which I'm not sure if we did manage to achieve that. Sam and Max, freelance police, season 1, situation, comedy. Unnecessary, colon.
So we start off each episode with Sam and Max getting a message from the commissioner. How many times can you do that and have it
6.
not
Yeah,
get
6
too
apparently.
boring? So we've got to think of different ways to start off each game. And we thought that them having a standoff with the high noon type feel was a good way to go with this episode.
But this is clearly dastardly.
4 more to go.
That was also, we wanted to reintroduce the idea of the tear gas gun that was actually a leftover inventory item from the previous episode that you use again in this one, and we wanted to make sure that you were reminded of what the function of it was, particularly if you hadn't played the previous episode.
We have a new voice for Max here.
Max has a new voice in this episode. There was a sudden medical emergency with Max's old voice, and we had to recast him basically
I like
on
the
the
thought that
fly.
the voice is just this independent entity. The voice came down with the cold.
He's all better now, though.
He is all better now.
But both Maxes were great. It was, of course, sad to lose our friend Andrew Chaikin for this episode. But we have William Caston as Max now, and he's doing an absolutely fantastic job. He is a real pleasure to work with in the studio. He's always full of anecdotes. Just a really funny guy. I love him.
The voices in general were actually a source of a lot of tension and contention. Before we released the first episode, the fans had 13 years to sort of build up expectations about what the voices were going to sound like from the original LucasArts game and also from the animated series. And it just seemed like no matter what we did, they weren't going to like it. And then we picked some actors that we like, and we put them out, and people just stopped complaining instantly. They said, "Oh, these guys are good."
I think the way that we kind of eased into it is when we first did the trailer before season 1, I did the voices for Sam and Max, so it was much easier when professionals came in, and we were won over right away because I wasn't cutting it.
But despite your modesty, Dave, your voices are, in fact, outstanding. And your rendition of Hugh Bliss was so inspiring. I knew he was going to make a great character.
Well, and the voices that went out on the original GameTap trailer, that was both David Nolan, right? Doing Sam and Max.
That's right.
And Sam is voiced by David Nolan throughout the series, and it's amazing to see how he's grown also. It's just if you listen to that trailer and then you listen to episode 6.
He's grown like 3 feet over the course of the season.
You must put your beloved companion.
Whose voice was that? That wasn't Max.
I don't know whose voice it was.
It's awesome. The world of cartoons. You can do anything pretty much, break the rules, and it still seems to work out okay.
Well, this was our clever way of exposing the fact that Sam has built the anti-hypnosis helmet into his hat just so that we wouldn't have to deal with him being able to be hypnotized for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm. So it turns out all these story points, all the cutscenes are just built around these stupid little things that we have to try to make sure everybody understands. And then as the last pass, the polish would say, let's just make it funny while we're here.
So this TV studio set is actually, we built this one big environment, like a television studio, and then had all these little sets that could take place inside it. So they actually share some of the geometry, but they're completely different environments in the engine. Is that right?
Yes, pretty much. Just added elements to each one.
This puzzle sequence is actually one of my favorite things from the entire season, not because it's enormously more fun than anything else, but just because it was a really interesting design challenge. The title of this episode is Situation Comedy, so we knew that we were going to put them on a sitcom, and we wanted to capture the feel of sort of fear and uncertainty of improvising comedy in front of an audience. And we went kind of back and forth trying to think of all these different kinds of puzzle structures that were going to work. And what we eventually realized would work was to design it backwards from the way that we normally do. Normally we try and give you a very clear goal and give you some tools that have very clear functions and kind of let the player make the leap between those so that you figure out what you're going to do and then you go do it. But this is exactly the reverse. We made the goal kind of hazy and the functionality of the tools be things that you had to sort of discover by exploration, so that you actually would have to try it a whole bunch of times and fail a bunch of times before you would figure out how it worked and eventually come to the correct solution.
There is a common problem of making the game just only move when the player moves, that the entire world is static. So this is a chance, in the same vein, to make the player have to be more reactive. The whole idea of improvising is I'm not sure what's going to happen, I'm not totally in control, I got to kind of roll with the punches. So here the idea that Mr. Featherly can come in and do things is something that you have to react to. You're not exactly sure what's going to happen. So it makes it have a slightly different feel.
I think this is actually one of the funniest moments in, not this particular moment, but this sequence. This sequence is one of the funniest moments in the entire season. And I hate to say it, but I think a lot of that has to do with the laugh track.
Well,
Yeah, I actually am a really big fan of always having the audience sounds in there. To me, it always just becomes so much funnier when I hear these weird voices from an unseen crowd just hooting and hollering.
This scene seemed very, very unfinished to me without that laugh track, but once it got put in, it just all made sense, and it became
If
that
you
much
watch
funnier.
a sitcom on TV, you kind of have the same feeling nowadays. So you're just so used to them having a laugh track,
Yeah.
it feels incomplete without it.
True.
Just go with it.
Kim was showing me one of these TV sets at her desk the other day, and there's a bunch of stuff in there, right, that didn't get in there. You don't see it in
that's
the game.
usually the way due to the limitations of camera movement, but we try to throw in as much as we can in hopes that people can pick up the little things.
But these sets all had boom mics and Bessie's little director's chair, and
Yeah, I think every environment pretty much had the behind the scenes look that maybe.
Right, I mean, one
see.
thing that we're struggling with was we have a very limited budget to make new environments with. And so, and the constant struggle for the designers to make something that's achievable that will not get us killed by the artists. We're looking
very
for
close
tricks
sometimes.
to put more environments than we're really scheduled to be able to make. And this was one of the examples where he said, look, it's really just the same kind of set, but, just the content's a bit different every time, that's all. Yeah, sorry, Dave Bogan, you were fooled. Haha. Because we got it made in the end.
I think my favorite part about this set is the painted birds on the back set behind the window that do not move.
We've got another contestant.
This is one of those sequences where I like to put in a bunch of stuff that's just for fun, that doesn't matter what you do, and the ingredients of the cake or soup that you're making are like that. It's just, you can put in anything, and all that matters is that you make a cake, and that throws a lot of people for a loop. They're like scouring through the ingredients, looking for the right one, trying to figure out what to do.
Right, we ended up putting in lots of lines like, there's absolutely no fruits or vegetables on the set at all, just to keep driving home. Do not be looking for that.
This Who's Never Going to Be a Millionaire actually used to be a little bit more complicated of a puzzle. Originally there were 2 sets of cards, I think, and you were going to swap out one set for the questions here on the show, and then you were going to take the questions from the show and swap them out for the lyrics of the guy on the American Idol show. and we ultimately just sort of cut half the puzzle because it was doing the same thing again. It didn't really add very much, but it made a lot of work for us as far as the implementation was concerned.
There.
Hold on. Can you buy deep fried?
The director here is played by Diane Nola. She is a very, very funny lady. It's I just love the way that she intones words to me. Is just so amusing. Her audition for the director to me was one of those moments where I was listening. I said, "Oh my goodness, this episode is going to be awesome." And then she just came in and reads everything in such a funny way.
It's putting quite a bulge in mine.
Another thing I'd like to talk about is by using reoccurring characters, not only can you improve on their animation sets and their acting capabilities, but also you get to watch the voice actors develop. And for the most part, I think the characters have made kind of leaps and bounds from episode to episode, getting to know the character that they're playing and just improving on their overall acting.
Darn it! He'd better not be going to see Myra. Well, anyway, we can't wait. We'll just have to.
For example.
That never fails.
He kind of sounded like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, the timeout for number 2 bit was pretty much something that we knew from the beginning of episode 1 that we'd have to have that somewhere, and it just seemed fitting. Same as with the environment budgets, where we have a limited number of characters that we can make as well, so we're always trying to find ways to, if a character seems like he would fit in the story, then we see if we can put him in there. And it did seem kind of appropriate to have these kind of washed up former child stars show up here at this reality show. So there they are.
The funniest thing about that is that there was no reaction from Specs. His glasses broke.
I'm blind.
And I don't know if that was done on purpose or not, but it actually works to our advantage, I think.
I do love things where people just have no expression. They just sit there for a moment and stare straight ahead.
We had fans asking if Sam was going to get to play his banjo before this episode came out. And I posted on the forum, maybe he will, and there was all this backlash from people. Oh, that's such a typical marketing answer. So Jake took a screenshot of that and kind of doctored it up so you could just barely see that Sam was playing a banjo.
But that doesn't mean we're ready to pack it in. We've got the.
For this episode, we had a contract writer, Jeff Lester, come in and help us, and he worked on this part, and I think he did a brilliant job bringing the character Myra with motherly and yet sharp-edged bite to her advice.
Hold the hayride, little pal.
That thing that she just used to move the microphone with actually is indicative of the kind of disconnect that there occasionally is between the idea and the execution, where we thought up this whole puzzle where Myra moves the microphone around to different positions on the desk without thinking about the fact that the desk is actually kind of large and Myra's arms are actually too short to do that. So I think, Dave, I think that was your idea to just give her a little reachy thing that she could use to...
It's pretty much her only option, unless she was to do a cartwheel across the desk and pick up something and then
Fantastic.
do another one to get back in her chair.
And why didn't we do that?
Yeah.
Well,
Shouldn't have said that.
because...
I don't make the director's.
Well, I don't know. I don't know why we didn't do that.
I'd like to mention my pal Sam and something that happened the other day.
This is also one of those scenes where the characters just kind of have to follow the rules. It's like we've designed this so that you can't do the thing that would be natural to you as a human being, which would be just get up and force your way across the room and grab that teddy bear and toss it out. We just sort of wave our hands in the air and say, no, you're on TV now. You have to follow the rules of a television talk show, which is that you sit down where the host tells you to and you do not move from there.
At the risk of making the obvious comment, that was shocking. Is she breathing?
A little, but the creepy teddy bear is toast.
Nuts. I wanted to ask it a few questions and maybe use it to hypnotize Katie Couric.
So for this part, I actually did not imagine that Myra would be electrocuted. Was not really trying to, make anybody die who was innocent in this game. But at the end, we see that she's really all right.
In a row involving hypnotic mind control?
Complete coincidence?
Yes,
I remember someone telling me that she gets electrocuted. But
No, it's
I don't know who it was.
We didn't mean to death.
Maybe someone planted that in my head or something. I don't know. But
No, it works well for the cartoony end to this thing. I do like it as the the punchy ending as long as we do get this moment here.
It's funny, and that's all that matters. And she's alive. You
Yeah.
can see she wiggles her
twitches,
fingers,
yeah.
and she's shaking her head, and her eyes open.
We always have these nice little teasers for what's coming in the next episode.
Done?
Yeah.
Tis the end.
Welcome to the commentary for episode 2 of season 1 of Sam & Max. I'm Jared Emerson Johnson. I was the composer and sound effects and voice guy.
I'm Charlie Smith. I did some scripting.
I'm John Scrow. I'm technical director. I did some effects and character models and whatnot.
I'm Marco Bresco. I did choreography.
This one's very orange.
Very orange.
Very orange. This was the one where they started. It was the second episode, and they started guessing the rainbow color scheme.
I know already, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
it only took 2.
Scary.
And then you and
Very smart Sam & Max fans. Very smart. Very perceptive. I had a lot of fun with this one. I think it was starting in this episode. I realized that it would be very fun to have a little
Poof.
sort of musical genre play with in the openings of each one. The next one sort of has a circus thing going on, and the fourth one has obviously a little Americana thing going.
You can see the pickle-mobile.
The what?
His pickle-mobile
Where?
on the wall.
Yeah, the speed
picture.
Yes,
Yeah.
the speed pickle.
That's Kim's pickle.
Myra Stump, the darling hot.
This is, for starting from episode 2, we had to replace the actor we had cast as Max because of some serious health problems. So this is the first work of William Caston, who stepped in and really got us out of a bind and did the rest of the season, and I think does an incredible Max voice.
Yeah, they really got better every episode.
Yeah.
for making chores, his reads are really good to work
They're
off
very
of. He's
snappy.
very expressive.
He's a pro.
You didn't see those legs.
Did we?
No, they didn't. There were no legs at the bottom of the TV. You want to talk about how we...
Yeah, she's actually a full model stuffed inside that TV. Flattened a little bit.
That's
It's
Yeah.
flattened quite a bit.
That's why all this TV stuff is a pain, because we don't have render to texture, so we actually have to shove it all in there.
That would be a whole lot of data if we did it all through textures or a movie file.
No, but if you do render to texture, you can have everything off screen and render it to another texture, which gets displayed elsewhere. We'll have it in the future.
Yeah, this is a very similar thing to what you see in episode 5 when Sam goes flat. It's the same technique. It's just she's much smaller to fit in the TV.
Good old TV. It's the only way I still feel well adjusted.
the only way.
I could use a shave.
I'll say, your 5 o'clock shadow goes clear to your ankles.
That little musical stinger that keeps appearing is a very vague reference to one of the themes Clint LeJake and Peter McConnell put together for Hit the Road for the Whack-A-Rat game.
Nice.
There's a whole little music cue, and it's just a little tiny snippet of it whenever Jimmy does anything.
That Bosco line was one of everybody's favorites. Everybody loves to hear Tally Ho Foo.
Yeah.
Called diseased.
Thank you. Thank you. First
Where'd the Shaving King go?
thank all the little people who...
Zip it. Okay, you realize your dog is walking death, and you'll have to put him down for the good of society.
Really?
You're sad. You're despondent. You're grief-stricken. Now, show me the emotion.
Boo-hoo?
You call that emotion? I've seen Myra show more emotion, and she ought to be declared a national Botox routine.
Go ahead.
This sequence was choreographed by Pete Sakel. He is not going to make it in for any of these recordings, but he did a great job on just a whole boatload of choreography through all of the episodes. This is a great example of his work. Really hits emotion well on top of the lines, and
Yeah, we started to really push the moods a lot more, starting in episode 2.
Definitely.
It's a new technology.
possessed you to do that.
The demonic force called acting, Sam. You should try it.
Sam's brow sticks out a little bit too much, though.
It's we were all learning lessons through all the first episodes that
Bravo! Such realism. Such art.
helped make 4, 5, and 6 all the great ones that they are.
Shooting him. How did you do the sound effects?
You don't want to know.
The search for the Midtown.
You really don't want to know.
Building immediately.
Let's hurry, Sam. We only have 14 minutes and 55 seconds of fame left.
Okay, now remember, your landlord's at the door, and you don't want him.
This is straight into situation comedy here.
Right. Little Midtown Cowboys theme song here.
It's a great theme song. I tried to use every single one of them that you delivered to us.
They're probably heading a cow. They're probably heading a cow. Credit goes to Jake Rodkin for coming up with that
The phrase.
That phrase.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're probably heading a cow. I just thought that was the funniest thing in the world.
That cow is not the same cow from Bone. It's a different model.
Keep telling yourself that.
Different texture.
I know.
It is.
I know. I just love how it's your torch.
That texture's never showed up on Bone either. We never had a brown spotted like that.
No. However, I think the eyelashes on the cow are a reuse.
Yeah.
There we go.
And Featherly is not the same chicken from Bone either.
No.
He's more of a rooster,
not.
but not
He's
totally.
sort of more of a rooster, but he's also, I don't know. I have a theory that Mr. Featherly might be a girl.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely
He's got
chicken
traits
looking.
of both.
He was a fun character to work with for choreography. It's very interesting to try and get a chicken to express. Yeah.
He's probably my favorite character.
He's a fun character, making him walk around and flap around, and
Oh god.
and of course that.
The audience sounds really make this
Certainly.
scene for me.
You couldn't do a
fun.
a sitcom takeoff
No.
without a bunch of canned laughter.
No, yeah, it's fun.
Whatever stuff is really good. What's it called in English?
It's I really enjoyed the angle of that particular shot as well, with the cow kind of sticking in there,
Waggling
you know.
tail, just sort of. That is my favorite.
What?
And this spitting that goes on just a little bit too long.
Yeah, it was huge. I just had to keep on animating it.
Better get the serious toothpaste.
Yes, tied in with a point up left.
Everyone's point up.
Yeah, we use point ups. They turn up a lot. We try and not to use them too much, but
Don't call me for at least an hour.
Puzzle achieved.
yep. Those are always difficult shots too. Whenever we're passing one thing to another character, always have to do a little staging trick or something to get them right in the perfect spot. This is one of my favorite opening songs that they have for.
Yeah,
It's the Wacky Trumpets, I think.
it's sort of it's a wacky trumpet. I had the hardest time getting the trumpeter to play it because it was just so high, and he kept talking about how you should have told me to bring a piccolo trumpet, but the quality is very different with a piccolo trumpet, and I wanted it to just be that biting, ridiculously high, squealing sort of Baroque sound, and he nailed it eventually and stopped complaining. It was
Nice.
came out very well.
Those hats are exactly the same model from Bone.
Oh, so there is
One of the
some
only cases where we use the exact same model.
Of course, we should note that Max's is scaled, of course.
So yeah,
Heard of or used. Mine's MSG.
If you
I love MSG. It's kind of sad that most Chinese places don't put enough in their food anymore. Like, you used to be able to get MSG in your food and then feel drunk afterwards, but now
Wow.
Can we say enough about roofing tile shards?
Obviously we can. Now do we broil it, Sam?
Right you are, little buddy. Into the oven it goes. And
Broiled the giant pot.
that looks tasty.
Yeah, gorgeous cake.
Where did the icing come from?
That was the MSG.
Oh, I see. Cue!
Yay, rainbows! I thought I'd only have to do rainbows for one episode.
Little did you know.
Oh, God.
Another spastic little theme song here.
The question is, am I
I remember in the voice sessions for this one when we were first meeting Hugh, and we knew that he was going to be coming back in a big way later in the season, and I think Brendan and I had talked a little bit about the characterization from him, and we had a basic idea, but when we got into the studio with David Boyle and really got going, he was just doing all of this really out there stuff, and I just remember that we had more fun recording him for episode 2 than I think we did doing any of the voice for the rest of the whole season, and he just was so out of control that I was almost like not sure if it was going to really work. I was just like, this is like really crazy. And we got a lot of safeties, in case it wasn't working, but then when we had it all edited and put it in the game, it was just like, oh my god, this is the greatest character of all time. It's just so out of control.
Yeah, the thing that sucks though is since his voice is so crazy, the lip sync on him doesn't process very well. So we have to always go back and do a lot of it by hand and just clean it up.
It's so out of control.
This is just gross.
The effing with the soda poppers theme ought to come back here. It is really gross.
Yeah, the best part is texture afterwards.
Yeah, it's like a serial killer.
With some fava beans.
Exactly.
It's candy.
The blur effects turned out much better than I expected.
Yeah.
I really had no idea what to do, and then I tried one thing, and then it looked great. Just right off the bat, I got lucky.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our next contestant, Sam.
Hello. I have to do a little song I call Just Like Someone Else's Song, Only Somehow Better. Chomping on a crunchy silver spoon.
All those little tunes. David Nolan was just making them up in the booth and didn't have anything planned. So
oh yeah.
The banjo, I had to time to it after the fact, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it comes across really well.
It looks very planned, even though it wasn't.
You're less sloppy than my brother is. You've got
He doesn't even care.
Oh. Peepers is the most terrifying of the poppers, in my opinion. He's just seems like he might be a sociopath.
It's his gigantic eyes staring you down.
There's something wrong with that guy.
this microphone.
We all love Myra's little
grabber
thing.
Yeah. Arms so short she can't even really put her hands together.
That's funny. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it becomes a problem sometimes, like when you need to move a microphone across a desk.
Right. Yeah. You need a grabber. Yes. Max looks so happy.
It's because the bear looks awesome.
I know.
That is one of my most disturbing lines to me, shadier than a fat man's ankles.
The swirling bear head is really a scary thing. It's like poltergeist or something.
What gives, Sam? Why can't we just grab the bear?
It would appear that the laws of physics are different on the set of a talk show, little buddy. We're gonna have to play along.
Sam and Max, you talented, hot new celebrities who've taken the entertainment world by storm. So naturally, we all want to hear everything about your involvement in the scandal detailed in the Alien Love Triangle Times.
I'd like to mention my pal Sam and something that happened the other day.
Anecdotes about other celebrities, even ones as dubious as you two, are
There was a debate about the sparks on the microphone as far as audio is concerned, and it's always tricky with those kinds of things in these games because, obviously it ought to be going, but it becomes prohibitively irritating if you actually do that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other examples. There she goes.
It's the Darth Vader effect again.
Bessie just gets the hell out of there.
Creepy teddy bear is toast.
Nuts. I wanted to ask you to
Little does Sam know.
to hypnotize Katie Couric.
Another
Man,
glorious.
that's so cute there.
That's a very puzzling line to me.
Bright side, the audience is free to go home.
Familiar
Some
outlines.
familiar silhouettes in the audience.
Yeah.
Speaking Speaking of unlikely, did you notice we just had 2 cases in a row involving hypnotic mind control?
Complete coincidence?
Yes, I think so. The cogs of the universe synchronize in ways we're not meant to see.
Speaking of things we're not meant to see.
And this is my little closing, the plot thickens musical theme here, the vibes.
That puddle looked familiar that was on the table there.
Yeah.
Let's head back to the cooking show set and see if we can figure out how to make fried pork rinds.
Okay, but I get the feet.
But he gets the feat. Episode 2, Sam and Max. Thank you for watching.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Welcome to Episode 2, commentary, Bay Area sound commentary, audio commentary. This is Jared Emerson Johnson, music, sound, and voice direction.
Thanks for listening. This is Julian Kwasniewski, sound effects and voice directing.
We are happy to provide you with commentary. Background sequence now in orange, the beginning of a trend that I believe it was, well, I'm not sure actually who came up with that idea. I know
But it's a good idea.
Jake did it. It is a very good idea, and it always looks
credit
cool,
Jake.
and then at the very end, let's credit Jake.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you, Jake.
I think Dan did it.
It was
actually.
probably Dan, the master of all.
The CEO of the company, actually, he's their head animator, and he is all the voices in the game. Just kidding.
And here's our little spaghetti western sequence. I really was happy to see that they were starting each of these with a little genre piece. I believe I said that in the other commentaries I did with the programmers and artists. But
this is a great piece of music.
And this is the first debut of the voice of William Caston, who took over Max from this episode on and did an excellent job.
And we couldn't be happier with him. He really, great person as well, and really into the project.
He's another guy we fly up for the recordings from LA because he's so incredible. This is that little Sam and Max theme that just kind of comes in whenever they're doing their solo thing. You know, it's not really necessarily related to any of the cases that they're on. It's just sort of them hanging out, doing their banter. You'll notice it in cutscenes and here and there whenever they're just sort of rocking their little duo thing.
We've got to drive over to the station right away, or at our earliest convenience.
Great, I've been itching to bust some skulls since they canceled my so-called life.
So you can hear now that the voice, from a processing standpoint, it was about 2,500 to 3,000 lines per episode.
Yeah.
And so within that, you have lines like this that are coming over the TV, and so we need to process them accordingly. So through the course of the projects, we came up with a variety of processes for the PA horn. We have over the TV, there's people talking on the telephone, speakerphones, the mic podiums for the debates, and
the cops in episode 5.
And so, and what it means is just a really high level of tracking on our part. We have, we work with Brendan and Dave, and we identify which lines are going to need processing, and then doing our play tests of the game, we realize that those lists are usually not complete, and you'll hear a line that comes over the TV. It's like, hey, that's not supposed to be dry, and so we track that, and ultimately, if and when these were to be translated into other languages, all that work needs to be repeated, and oftentimes that doesn't happen for many months or years after the title ships, although it's much quicker these days. But so anytime we do this stuff, we have to kind of document what we do and be able to recreate it at any time.
Thank you.
That last scene in Bosco's is one of the few scenes where Jimmy and Bosco are in the same shot, even interacting with each other a little bit, and they are both, believe it or not, voiced by the same man, Joey Kamen. Two very different voices, but both
and it
both
totally
very funny
works.
and effective, and it's always funny when that happens, and especially when it works as well as it does in that scene.
Show more emotion, and she ought to be declared a national Botox.
All of the cutscene music in episode 2 was a little bit darker because I know the original design of the TV studio was meant to feel very kind of eerie and abandoned, and you're not sure why nobody's there. You know, you're expecting it to be hustling and bustling, and of course the reason is because everybody's quarantined in Myra's set, and she won't let them out, and so all the cutscene music is it's a little bit darker and more kind of atmospheric and strange in this, and that also then of course contrasts with the incredible manic nature of all the TV show themes, which are just pretty silly. I believe we'll be hearing them shortly. How did you do the sound effects? You really don't want to know.
You don't want to know.
Believe me.
Search for the Midtown Cowboys is over. You're hired. Head to the set next door and we can begin filming immediately.
Let's hurry, Sam. We only have 14 minutes and 55 seconds of fame left.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. The first TV show theme.
Don't want him to know you've got a cow in there. Ready? Action!
That's
Is that you singing?
That's me singing.
That's
That's me on
awesome.
the violin at the beginning there, playing the fiddle.
I know you've got
And this is David Boyle.
Boyle, yeah.
As Mr. Featherly / Philo Pennyworth. Also does the voice of Hugh Bliss, who, as we find out, is playing a larger role in this whole hypnosis scheme. We decided early on to have all these sitcom sequences just be sound effects only. But I mean, obviously, it's more authentic, but it's also just funnier in the context of the scene to have the silence and waiting for that laugh track and the applause and stuff.
I'm sorry, what was that you said? He said moo goo gai pan. It's a French dish the chef has just made. Oh, super! I'll try some of that. Where's the plate? I can't help but feel this is all terribly wrong somehow.
That is so harsh.
I know. Featherly?
Interesting. That's one word for it.
I really love his scarf.
There's a familiar flavor. Fennel, maybe? Kentucky bluegrass, I think. This moo-moo whatever stuff is really good. What's it called in English? Cow pie.
The writing in this is so perfectly sitcom. It's incredible.
And the laugh track
much
timing
props to
is,
Dave and Brendan for this. It's just
Yeah, definitely.
on all the little reaction shots are awesome. And that goes on just a little bit too long.
Now? Better get the serious toothpaste.
Zoom in and cut. That was comic gold. The network is going to love it.
I love the little wing flaps for Featherly getting up there on the cow.
What's great about this is that Telltale has a great tool for implementing audio, so we can basically play the game, and when we identify a sound that's needed, from identifying it to actually getting it in the game, assuming it's easy to make and we have it, really gives us a lot of power over the soundtrack. And so even though it's a downloadable title, we still have, we're not treating it any differently, and there's really no limitations that we're not used to already.
Yeah, it's very, very simple implementation, drag and drop, designed by the illustrious Kevin Brunner,
Greetings, worshipful fans.
who's also a keyboardist.
A
Don't tell him I told
very
you.
accomplished keyboardist. And accordionist, I believe. He has an accordion. This music was my takeoff on the Frugal Gourmet. I would think it's a bourrée by Handel from Water Music, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen the show since the 80s, but I remember thinking it was just so funny and very PBS to have that little Baroque opener to the cooking show. And this is my sort of Sam and Maxified, slightly insane, manic version of that Baroque sound with the trumpet just wailing up high there. That's Mike Whitwell on trumpet. He's an incredible guy. We're very lucky to have him. He's played with everybody, and whenever it's always great to have him in the studio because he's one of those cool jazz cats who always has stories about crazy people he's played with over the years, and
That was the sound of my oven, too. Slamming across the country. This is a great one.
Yes, this music you're hearing here, believe it or not, it's a sort of a secret little homage to a friend of mine that I had in college who it's very similar to music I wrote for a student film she made that took place on a game show, and it was a little shout out to my friend Gia.
Hi, Gia.
Hey, Gia. I loved the implementation of this music because in every one of these scenes, the little game show theme it kind of just keeps coming back and playing over and over again. Just when you think it's about to be over, it plays another time, and
I love
it just
that.
gives you the impression that they have this one, 20-second track of music that they had commissioned for this terrible, terrible game show that they can't really do anything except play it over and over again. And I just thought that was hilarious. The sort of low-techness of this WARP TV place. And that ridiculous explosion that happens.
1, 2, 3, 174, 175.
What is that thing in the background there? I've just always wondered. The guy with the barrel.
I know.
And then, like, what?
Someone knows.
I love it. It's somebody's grandpa or something. And here's my favorite little Soda Poppers theme is about to sneak in there. It's sort of the screwing with the Soda Poppers music. Anytime that Sam and Max are doing something to like emotionally or physically abuse the Soda Poppers, you can hear that. And you sort of hear little snippets in this episode, and then in episode 4, when it's the ultimate thing after Whizzer's in AA and they're giving him the bottle of vodka to chug. You hear the full version of it with the whole A and B sections together, and it's sort of a drunken, sleazy, almost circus-y sounding piece of music. I love it. The first and hopefully not last bit of techno that has appeared in Sam and Max.
This was fun. We had to pitch them without changing the duration. So
right. Yeah, this is one of those voice tech things where he had to be able to sing everything, both heliumed and not heliumed, and
have it be in tune with the music still.
Right. One of those fun asset tracking games.
Yeah, it works. Hadn't heard it in a while. It works well.
Let's hear from our judges.
Bravo! Your wobbly tenor is way better than Peeper's shrill squawking.
I love that he hasn't taken off his glasses.
I know, it's great.
He's just
dealing with it.
The show must go on for Specs. He's a total professional.
I remember the moos too. We had moo requests. And we had to have like a happy moo and an upset moo, and they're all cows.
I like that Bessie is just a cow. She's on the talk show, and not like Featherly or the Mole Man who actually speak. She's just a cow, mooing, like eating stuff. And you're about to hear sort of second version of the Sam and Max theme that you hear in The Office. It's sort of the more upbeat, kind of funkified version, and I created it for the Myra set, meant to sound like, like a talk show band playing their version of someone's theme, and it ended up using it in a number of other spots in different orchestration. Whenever it was sort of Sam and Max doing something badass or something.
But that bear has got you. We'll just sit where you want us to, man.
This is Dorothy Gallagher, who plays Myra.
She's great.
She's a great, eccentric, very bright personality.
And she sounds and acts exactly how you see her.
Exactly.
It is
exactly like Myra.
She's like, oh, I know what you want. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple more. I'm going to give you a couple more here.
Let me give you another. Here we go. Okay,
I got you.
Okay, I think I know what you want.
And then she nails it.
Of course. I'm very glad they included the fact that Sam plays the banjo in the season. I can't remember. I don't think it appeared anywhere in Hit the Road. But yeah, I think it's a very important part of Sam's characterization. Only a very specific type of person plays the banjo, and Sam is definitely that type. Here's Bessie again, and that is just very harsh. And Bessie's out of here. But what's this? And this is the sort of wrapping everything up music theme. It appears in various different
Yeah.
incarnations at the end.
Tune in next week.
Yep. And comes into sort of transitions into the hypnosis theme that comes in, or the sort of devious something even more sinister is coming down the line.
Do you think Myra will have us back on the show again soon?
Speaking of unlikely,
This is still just the regular wrapping it up theme. But the plot thickens theme is coming up. It's got that thing with the vibes and the trombones. Here it is.
There's a new restaurant at the zoo where you can eat what they feed the animals.
empty popcorn.
Oh, and that harp. She's not dead, see?
No.
So, it's a family game. All right, thanks for watching episode 2.
Cooking show set and see if we can figure out how to make fried pork rinds.
Okay, but I get the feet.